What if the secret you were told your entire life that magic is born, not learned, was never true?
Because that is the lie Coco grew up inside.
A world where witches are simply different, chosen, handed something at birth that she would never have, and she accepted it the way anyone accepts a wall they have been staring at since they could remember. Then she saw something she was never supposed to see. And the moment she realized the wall was a lie, she did not hesitate. She did not wait for permission. She broke every rule she had ever been given. Because the rule itself was the only thing standing between her and something extraordinary.
This is Witch Hat Atelier.
And that single decision changes absolutely everything. When Coco was a child, she found a book, something she saw briefly during a visit to a palace she had no business wandering into. At the time, it probably looked like a beautiful picture book, the kind you flip through and forget by adulthood.
Except it was not a picture book at all.
It was a gateway into the single most guarded secret in her world, a spellbook, disguised as something harmless, left in her hands by someone who wanted her to discover it. And she held onto that memory for years, long enough for it to quietly shape the exact kind of person she would grow up to become. That is not coincidence, that is devotion, formed before she even had the language to explain what she was devoted to. Because here's the thing about her love for magic: it was never rational, it was never convenient, and it was certainly never something the world around her encouraged. She grew up being told, directly and indirectly, that magic belonged to people who were simply born different. Not earned, not learned,
Just granted like a birthright she did not have.
and most people, faced with that kind of wall, quietly accept it and redirect their dreams somewhere more achievable. She did not. Her love for magic was not the kind that bends to permission. It is the kind that keeps burning quietly under the surface, waiting for the smallest crack in the wall to slip through. And when that crack finally appears, she did not hesitate. She does not weigh the consequences carefully or wait for someone to grant her formal permission. She acts immediately, completely, in a way that honestly says more about who she is than almost anything else in the entire season. That kind of love, the kind that does not ask if it is allowed to exist, is rare to see written this earnestly. It is easy to write a character who wants something. It is much harder to write one whose wanting feels this uncontainable. Now, what makes this story genuinely special is not just her love for magic, it is how the world responds to it.
Instead of being punished for stumbling into a secret she was never supposed to know, she is taken in.
Adopted, in every sense that matters, into a society built entirely around protecting the very thing she accidentally exposed. And that society does not just tolerate her curiosity, it nurtures it carefully, deliberately, teaching her not just how to cast, but why every rule around casting exists in the first place. That is such a specific kind of storytelling choice. So many stories about forbidden knowledge treat the people guarding the secret as obstacles to overcome. This one treats them as caretakers, flawed, and cautious, but genuinely trying to do right by a child who could have been easily exploited instead. It reframes the entire premise. This is not a story about breaking into a world that does not want you. It is a story about a world deciding carefully that you might actually be worth letting in. But not everyone circling her has the same intentions. There is another group moving through this world, one obsessed with the exact same secret she stumbled onto,
Except their interest in it is not protective at all.
it is predatory. They do not see a curious child worth guiding. They see a resource, a means to an end, something to be used rather than nurtured, at least for now. And that contrast is what makes this story genuinely tense rather than just charming. The same discovery that earned her a family in one world makes her a target in another. Her existence alone becomes valuable to people who have absolutely no interest in her well being, only in what she represents. That is a heavy thing to carry as a child, even if the story never states it outright. Being wanted for who you are and being wanted for what you can be used for look almost identical from the outside. The story trusts you to feel that difference rather than explaining it to you directly. And that restraint is part of what makes it work. And that brings me to the part of this story that has been sitting with me since the season ended. This group with predatory intentions, the Brimmed Caps, the ones treating magic as something to weaponize rather than protect, clearly have power. Real, dangerous, and settling power. Enough that the witch society treats them as genuine existential threat, not a minor nuance. So here's the question I cannot shake. Purely as someone who has only watched the anime and has not touched the source material. If they are genuinely that powerful, why have they not simply won already? Why has the secret not already been ripped open and spread across the world by force if that is truly within their capability? There are a few possibilities worth sitting with. Maybe their power is real but narrow, devastating in specific circumstance but nowhere near enough to overwhelm an entire hidden society built to specifically counter them. Maybe the secret itself has more layers of protection than season 1 ever showed us. Protection so old and so absolute that raw power alone cannot break through them. Or maybe, and this is the one that genuinely unsettles me most, they do not actually want to reveal the truth to everyone. Maybe exposure was never really their goal at all. And why they actually want is something quieter and worse. I do not have the answer. I am not sure season 1 wants me to have it yet. But that unresolved tension is exactly why the show has stayed in my head since the credits rolled. Because it did not hand me a villain with a simple motive. It handed me a mystery wrapped around a threat and trusted me to sit with the discomfort of not knowing it. So when I ask myself what would I actually do if I found out anyone could become a witch, if the only thing standing between me and something extraordinary was a secret someone else decided I was not allowed to know, I think about Coco, about how she did not ask for permission to want it. She just wanted it completely and let that want carry her somewhere the world insisted she did not belong. Maybe that is the real magic in this story. Not the spells, not the seals, not the power any of these characters wield, just the simple, stubborn refusal to accept a wall someone else built around your own potential. I do not know what season 2 has waiting for us, but if this is anything close to how season 1 made me feel, I will be right here waiting for the answer. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.